Hey, wrestling fans. Welcome to a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I am your host, Lance Brock, and it is Christmas Eve. And I'm going to do some quick recaps of WWE Friday Night Smackdown and AEW Rampage Holiday Bash. First, I just want to say in the last Pro Wrestling Crate unboxing video last week with the Bruiser Brody and Madison, I mentioned maybe a Christmas episode. That could happen, but just in case if it doesn't, no promises, but it might happen, so stay tuned for that. Just in case, hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whichever you celebrate. And now let's get into this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Let's start off with WWE Friday Night Smackdown on Fox, which was taped last week. And we start things off with a promo from the Bloodline in the ring, discussing the big tag team match that will take place next week on SmackDown. Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn taking on Kevin Owens and the returning John Cena. And the Usos kick things off in our first match of the night to retain the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships by defeating Hit Row. Pretty good match. And then next up we have a women's gauntlet match to determine the number one contender to take on the SmackDown Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey, next week. First, we start off with Xia Li and Emma. Li advances, and then she also defeats Tegan Nox. Next up, Raquel Rodriguez. She defeats Xia Li, defeats Liv Morgan, defeats Sonya Deville, and then in the final match of this gauntlet, she defeats Shayna Baszler, becoming the new number one contender to face Ronda Rousey, which is no surprise really with the build of Rousey and Baszler injuring the arm of Raquel Rodriguez as of late. And wasn't really too much of a surprise, but they made her look really good in this gauntlet match. She looked really strong, coming out on top. And then next we have Bray Wyatt coming to the ring, and he says LA Knight owes him an apology. And everybody thought that he was the one who attacked LA Knight. And he says no one was listening to him when he said that he wasn't Uncle Howdy. And he says that he is not Uncle Howdy. And then all of a sudden he just kind of like snapped and then attacked a cameraman with the mandible claw, and Rey Mysterio defeats Angel Garza. And in the back, Emma slaps Scarlett, and then Karrion Kross tells Emma that she has no idea what she has done. And now it is time for WWE Christmas tradition, the Miracle on 34th Street fight. Braun Strowman and Ricochet defeat the Imperium, which was the usual, the weapons. They had the candy cane kendo sticks, and it was alright. It was the usual one of these 34th Street fights. And the New Day, well, first, there's two boxes up front kind of reminds me of what happened with Sting and Abdullah the Butcher back in WCW. And then the first one was a ballerina. She does a little dance. And then the second one was the New Day, the NXT Tag Team Champions, come out of the second one dressed up as toy soldiers. And then they kick Imperium low and helping Strowman and Ricochet get the win. And that was tonight's episode of Smackdown, which I wasn't really expecting much from it, but it wasn't a bad show, though it was alright. And I didn't mention this during the recap yet, but there was also a video package focusing on John Cena's WWE career. Starting off the match with Kurt Angle on SmackDown, he came out ruthless aggression, and of course focusing on Cena's first match of 2022 next week on the final SmackDown of the year. And tonight on Rampage, it is Top Flight and AR Fox winning the Three Kings 300,000 Trios Battle Royale. I think I got that right, but I'm not quite 100% sure. And Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Jeff Jarrett defeat. Alright, Sanjay Dutt was not in the match, sorry, but him and Saddam Singh were in Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett's corner. They defeat Anthony Bowens and Daddy Ass Billy Gunn. Lethal pinning Billy Gunn in this one to pick up the win. And also during Rampage tonight, we get a commercial for the new Dynamite coming January 4th. As I mentioned recently on the podcast, there's been some talk about Dynamite and Rampage too, since they're usually recorded on the same night, but AEW getting a new set for TV, new entrance, so we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. And then we also have Eddie Kingston and Ortiz calling out the House of Black, and the lights go out, but they're not in the arena. They cut a promo on the screen. Aleister Black cuts a promo and then causes some speculation why they did not attack Ortiz, and Kingston kind of questions him. So that was tonight, WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage holiday weekend. So unfortunately, the ratings might be down a little bit, even more than they normally are for Rampage, and SmackDown might have taken a dip too this week. But next week we got the big episode of SmackDown coming up. John Cena and Kevin Owens taking on Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. Should be a good one. And then this Wednesday we have Dynamite New Year's Smash. And that's all for this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Like I said at the top of the podcast, not quite sure if we're going to do a Christmas episode, either tomorrow, Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day, Sunday. Not quite sure yet, but stay tuned just in case if we do. Not promising, but who knows. You can never tell sometimes. And thank you very much for listening. And in case we don't do another episode before Christmas, hope everyone has a happy and safe holiday, either Christmas or if you're celebrating Hanukkah or any other holiday. Hope you have a great, safe one. And that's all for this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Keep watching pro wrestling. Happy holidays. I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.